Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about building patience and persistence to lose weight, because you're going to need both of them if you're ever going to lose weight. But more importantly, if you're ever going to master your weight, meaning live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And therein lies the first suggestion I have for you to start building patience and persistence is to reframe your weight loss from just getting to your goal weight to living at your goal weight for the rest of your life, ideally on near autopilot. Once you make this reframe, it changes the whole thing, because if you're just focused on getting to your goal weight, what happens is subconsciously you think about in a very short time frame, and then it's very difficult to be patient when you're thinking about something in a short time frame. When you're thinking about how can I lose weight as fast as possible, it's hard to be patient, and it's certainly hard to be persistent. So the first step I would suggest is that you think about this as a forever process. Getting to the goal weight's nice, but that's just the first phase. The real phase is living at your goal weight for the rest of your life. And obviously that's a longer time frame. And so you're able to be more persistent. And you know this because if you ever went to college, you thought about it in a 2, 4, 8, 10-year time frame. And that time frame did a lot of the heavy lifting mindset wise of making you more patient and persistent, because you viewed the journey more accurately, rather than thinking that you could rush through it as fast as possible. So that's one of the main things, is to change the way you're thinking about it to a long-term process that never ends. It never ends, because even when you get to your goal weight, the goal then becomes to live at your goal weight. So it's a never-ending process. So what's your rush? All right. So once you do that, the next step is the patience, persistence. The real secret to patience and persistence technically is how you're talking to yourself and how you feel. And you have to practice feeling patience. And practicing feeling patience is actually surprisingly easy. It's being more relaxed and calm. When you're impatient, how do you breathe? How do you hold yourself? When you're patient, how do you breathe? How do you hold yourself? And there's complete difference between the two. And so the more relaxed you are, the more slowly and deeply you breathe, you activate the parts of your brain where the patience comes from. And you're able to be more patient. You're able to think about things in a more patient way. And then once you're patient, the persistence almost flows out of that. Again, when you combine patience with a longer term time frame, I think the persistence almost generates itself, because you realize this is something I'm committed to for the rest of my life, and there's no rush. I want to do it right. I want to master this. And I know there's going to be setbacks. I know there's going to be challenges, times when I want to give up, but that's just part of it. And when I feel those, I'll get through them, and I'll just be persistent with it. Because it's not about what I can do in a month or 2 months. It's about what I can do for the rest of my life. So I hope this helps you out, because the more patience and persistence you bring into your weight loss process, the more success you're going to have ultimately. And if you struggle to experience patience and persistence, click the link in my bio, get the hypnosis session I give you, and watch the video I made for you. They're all free, and they will help you do exactly that. So I hope this helps you out. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. Make sure to miss anything. Yeah, it's funny. On a TikTok over here, I am. Oh, why not? I'll experiment with it a little bit. We'll see how this goes. But if anyone wants to be a guest on here, like want to talk to me, like with their words, with audio, let me know. Give me a little message, and I can invite you into it, and you can be a guest on here, and I can talk to you. So if you would like to do that on TikTok, let me know. Daniela says, "Hey Jim, I've always feel the urge to binge whenever I'm studying or doing work for university. What can I do?" Yeah, okay. This is a great example of emotional eating. Okay. And so it's important to understand with emotional eating that the emotional eating is a symptom of a deeper problem. And somewhere along the way in your life, you have linked up that when I get stressed, or when I'm bored, right? Again, I want to go deeper into when you're studying or doing work for university. What state does that elicit? What feeling does that elicit in you? Does it make you stressed, anxious, bored? What do you feel? But somewhere along the way in your life, whatever feeling you feel when it's time to study or do work for university, whatever that feeling is, you have associated that the best way to deal with that feeling and to minimize it is to start eating. And so it's more that it's almost like a distraction. So you feel an unpleasant emotion when you have work to do for university. And the way that you manage that emotion is that you go to start eating. And so the reason I say it this way is that you want to understand, stop beating yourself up about it. Stop beating yourself up for the emotional eating and the binging when you have stuff to do, and start realizing that you're doing that because your subconscious mind thinks it's helping you out. To your subconscious mind, it's a great strategy. When I get stressed about schoolwork, let's go and eat because it reduces the stress in the moment. And you have to understand the subconscious mind is very much in the moment. It doesn't think like your logical, rational mind, which says, yeah, but if I eat the food, not only am I not doing my work, but then I'm got weight issues and health issues as well. Your subconscious mind doesn't think that. It just thinks in that exact moment, we're feeling stress. What can we do to feel better? Let's go eat. All right. So once we understand what's going on there, and we realize what's kind of, a behavior we picked up somewhere along the way, we don't have to really analyze and diagnose it too much. We just want to know the basic emotion that comes up that leads to the eating. And then we start asking the magical question, what do I want to do when I feel stress about schoolwork? I'd like to be calm and relaxed and just do the work. Cool. That's the starting point. And then we do work on saying, okay, what would it feel like if I was, when I start feeling stress about schoolwork, how do I want to feel? I want to relax, calm down, center myself, and get focused and motivated so that I can actually do the work. And then you would practice doing that. And you practice doing that in a multitude of ways. But that would kind of be how I would approach it. And again, I know that's not the total answer, but it's the beginning of the total answer. It's the beginning of the solution, is that you start to define what triggers it, how you rather respond instead, and then you keep on working on responding in that way. So at the end of the day, the solution's going to have nothing to do with food, though. It'll have to do with how you want to behave when you have university work to do. So I hope that makes sense. What's up, Porcelain? Porcelain says hi, and I say hi back. Porcelain says, I'm feeling very stressed right now. I'm fighting my urge to comfort eat. Okay, yeah, so let's just keep going on this idea that, again, if you go and comfort eat, and I'm not judging if you do, and you shouldn't judge yourself either, because if you went and started to comfort eat, it's not about you being a bad person or having no self-control or no willpower. It's really more about that you don't have a better strategy to calm and relax yourself when you feel stressed. That's the bigger issue than you eating. You see, this is why people get caught up on the emotional eating thing. They say, oh, I get stressed and I'm a stress eater. Okay, well, that's the presenting problem. But the core problem is that you get stressed and you don't know how to deal with it genuinely. You don't know how to relieve your stress in a genuine way. And so the next best thing you got is eating, because the eating makes you feel better in the moment. It distracts you from whatever is stressing you out, and it feels better. And so right now you're relying on that because it's the best strategy you got that you feel you can rely on. And so, yeah, you could stop stress eating and then you could be a thin, stressed person, but that's not really what you want. What you want to be is you want to be a thin, healthy, relaxed, calm person. And so it's not just about not eating. It's about going that level deeper and saying, how do I want to feel? I want to feel more calm, more grounded. You see? And so it's a different focus. And I'm not saying it's easy. Just because you say that doesn't mean, oh, all of a sudden I'll just be calm. It's not that, but at least it defines things in a more accurate way, that leads you to a solution, because just stopping eating isn't the solution. If that makes sense. Yeah. What are some genuine ways to relieve stress? I mean, there's a million ways to relieve stress. It just depends on which ways you like to relieve stress. So I like to relieve stress by meditating, sleeping a lot, drinking enough water, eating healthy foods, reading, playing with my kid, playing basketball, playing guitar, going on dates with my wife. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I like to do. But you are a different person. So what would you like to do? What do you find relaxing? And it could be anything. It's not always the kind of cliche, obvious things, although those are great too. Going for walks, going by a lake, hiking, meditating, yoga class, there's always like the kind of obvious ones. But I think where you really get to the good answer is when you think to yourself, in my life, when have I felt relaxed and calm? What painting? Okay, perfect. Porcelain. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's like a twofer, by the way. I think that's like the best solutions are the ones like, I paint and I've kind of gotten away from it a little bit, you know what I mean? And so it's like, you're like, oh man, when I painted though, that was like, I really got my zone. I really, really decompressed genuinely. And you remember that. And now you get kind of two things happening, right? Now you get to paint and get good at a skill and a hobby, which is stress relieving in and of itself. And then there's the experience of painting where you might kind of get in that flow state where you genuinely are relieving the stress and dealing with it genuinely. because that's how you know. See, the reason we know that eating is not a good stress reliever is it is while you're eating. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you that while you're actually eating, yeah, you feel less stress. The second you finish eating, though, the 6 seconds after you take that last bite, the stress goes right back up because you didn't deal with any of the stress. You just distracted yourself. And now you got the original stress you felt. On top of that, now you got the beating yourself up for eating that way, So it magnifies the stress eating does. Now, when you paint, though, it's totally different, right? Because I know in porcelain paints, when you paint, you get in that flow state. You finish the painting or you finish painting for that day. You look at what you did. You're proud of yourself. It's time well spent. You're getting better at something. You're in that flow state. You probably breathe more slowly. You're probably more relaxed and, feeling good physically while you're painting. And you genuinely kind of work through the stress. You genuinely relieved it in a real, authentic way, as opposed to just eating and then you're done and you're like, oh, why did I do that? Oh, and then it's even worse. They're two totally different solutions to the problem. And one's a much deeper, more genuine solution, and one's really just a distraction for a little while. And so when you start to think this way about emotional eating, I think it changes everything personally, because again, if you're a dieter, the solution's always the same thing. The solution is always, I just got to stop emotional eating. I got to stop stress eating. And you use your willpower to stop yourself from doing the surface level thing, but you never deal with the core issues. And that's a big problem. What's up, Jen? Another beautiful day of Mass. Right. You're in Mass too. It is beautiful. It is like, I don't know, this weather the last couple of weeks has just been the epitome of New England weather, I would say. So couldn't agree more. I'm going for round 2. I got more grass seed. I put a 50-pound bag of grass seed all over my yard, and I swear none of it grew. But I got a new bag of grass seed, and this one I'm excited about. So we'll see. Tammy says, how is your pleasure days are structured? I mean, what foods count as pleasure for you? I will tell you, I'm avoiding this conversation because one of the things I've realized is that when I talk about the pleasure clean days without more context that I explain in the program, it becomes more confusing than enlightening. And I feel like I'm kind of confusing people with the pleasure clean eating days because there's a lot to it. It's not just like, because, you all, especially dieters, you all think the problem with your weight is that I know how to eat for pleasure. I eat too much for pleasure. And that ain't even real pleasure. A lot of the foods you're eating that you think are so pleasurable are not even pleasurable. And so what foods I eat for pleasure, I mean, how my pleasure days are structured, it's like there's so much kind of background information on that I realize that is one thing that it's difficult for me to talk about in the podcast because I'm kind of giving you incomplete information. And incomplete information when it comes to the pleasure eating days and the clean eating days, I find is not helpful to you all. But I will say this, I do structure my pleasure eating days. My pleasure eating days are structured just as much as my clean eating days, although they're structured differently, if that makes sense. So it's not a binge eating day where I start the day and I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do I want to eat now? What do I want to eat now? What do I want to eat now? It's not that. It is that I'm very, very aware of the foods that give me the most pleasure and the quantities eating them in that give me the maximum amount of pleasure. And so I aim at those things. And so what foods count as pleasure for me, it's really irrelevant because what foods count as pleasure for me, it could be anything. It's the food that I enjoy eating the most. And how do I eat it in a way that gives me the most pleasure? And one of the big reasons we asked this in the program is to enlighten you all that what you thought was really pleasurable a lot of times is not. A lot of the foods you think are so pleasurable really aren't. But what happens is you got this whole category of foods that you're not supposed to eat. That's how you think about it. And so they almost become taboo. And just the act of eating something taboo seems like a pleasure. But when you get rid of that taboo and you say, okay, I'm going to eat the food that gives me the most pleasure, that's a profound thought for a lot of people. And what happens is you start to separate, because what we've been conditioned to believe our entire lives for the food industry is that it's the volume of food we eat that leads to the pleasure. And so the more I eat, the more pleasure I get. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And so to get the most pleasure out of the food really comes down to figuring out which food you genuinely like the most and which quantities really give you the most amount of pleasure. And the secret to figuring it out is to not just concentrate on the eating of it, but to look at the big picture, zoom out, look at the big picture of the eating and the consequence phase. We can't just ignore the consequence phase of the eating. And when you start to take both into account, you start to redefine what pleasure foods really truly are. And that's an important part of the process. Lays Mota. Am I saying that right? I've been listening to your video about weight loss every night before going to sleep, and it has really helped me fall asleep better and get my mind right to keep losing weight. That's awesome. Yeah, that's why it's there. Again, even in the program, we have sleepnosis sessions, and each week you get a different one with a core weight loss mantra, and you listen to it. And not only are you getting good stuff put in your head, but it really sets you up to have a great night of sleep. So it helps you fall asleep quickly, sleep deeply, sleep soundly. And as you're falling asleep, you're getting all this wonderful stuff put in your mind. So you're going to sleep thinking about those things, possibly dreaming about them, and then waking up with them fresh on your mind. So yeah, that's a great, great strategy. That works really well. I don't miss anyone's questions here. And oh, I knew it. Okay. I saw you, Cindy. I saw your question. Cindy says, hi, Jim. I just got done finishing my workout today with yoga with you. Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's right. Yes. In the program, there's I'm a yoga instructor, in case you did not know. And I have my yoga program. I kind of created my own. It's called Comfortable Yoga. And the purpose of comfortable yoga is to do yoga that makes you feel comfortable right from the beginning. Because I realized a lot of people resist yoga because they associate it with discomfort, right? They do yoga and it's uncomfortable. You put yourself in these weird positions. It hurts. It's kind of like the muscles are sore. You're not breathing. And so comfortable yoga is really a philosophy and a practice of just really everything's about being more comfortable. Wouldn't you like to be more comfortable in your body? Right? That's the main focus of it. At some point, that will be a program that I offer to the world. But for right now, that is a bonus that comes with the Program Yourself Thin system. Porcelain says, where can I find these weight loss mantras? The weight loss mantras are part of the program. So in Program Yourself Thin, I'm a big believer in mantras. We think in mantras naturally. We all think in little phrases. And so in Program Yourself Thin, one aspect of the program, the hypnosis piece, is that every day there's a 5-minute hypnosis session in the morning that's built around a weight loss mantra. And at night, each week, the program's 8 weeks. Each week you get a sleepnosis and hypnosis session. There's 2 of them. The sleepnosis session doesn't have a count out, so you listen to it as you're going to sleep and just sleep. The other one has a count out that if you want to listen to it earlier in the night, it counts you out, and then you go about the rest of your day. But each one of those sessions is built around a core weight loss mantra, and there's 8 of those. And the daily morning sessions, there's 57 of those. So over 8 weeks, you're putting like 65 mantras into your mind. And again, that doesn't include the hypnosis library that comes with it. So yes, it's a way that I'm able to install a thin and healthy mantra or mindset into your mind through the use of mantras. So that's awesome, Cindy, though. Great job, though. I love that yoga. Yeah. Comfortable yoga is this stuff. I hope to do more yoga videos out there. My main thing about doing yoga videos is so stupid that I actually got this fancy camera. We'll see if it works out, but that is a goal of mine. Anyways, Sandra says tips for meditation. Yeah. My biggest tip for meditation is to start small. If you're starting from 0 with meditation, I would strongly suggest that you start small, meaning, a minute of meditation is profoundly powerful. A minute of closing your eyes, bringing your attention inwards, relaxing your body, connecting to your breath, being aware of what's going on in here. I'll show you. I'll give you an example, right? We'll do this for 10 seconds. Let me show you 10 seconds if you want to go along with it. Just closing your eyes and going inside for 10 seconds of silence. And I'll count it off with my fingers here, and I'll get you in 10 seconds. There you go. 10 seconds, right? So I don't know if you did that, but to me, it is profoundly powerful. It doesn't need to be 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour, deep Zen, really intense meditation. It can be really simple and easy, and it's very powerful. So that's my biggest tip for meditation, is to start really small. A minute's more than enough. Again, in the program, I teach the 1-minute meditation technique. The next big tip I would give you is, for that minute, set a timer. Okay. Cause the first 10 years I meditated, I would meditate without a timer. And the worst thinking I had to fight against was, did I meditate long enough? Is it long enough? Is it long enough? Is it long enough? So setting a timer quiets that part down, and you're just going to be quiet and connected and aware of your body until the timer goes off. So you take that right off your cognitive plate. In the process of meditation, I mean, you can certainly go a lot deeper into it. I'm not teaching Zen meditation here, but what really the first step I'm looking for is just to bring your attention inwards, relax your body, connect to your breath, and keep your attention and focus on your relaxation and breath for a minute. And you will see thoughts intruding and hijacking your attention. And that's what meditation is for, is to develop the ability to stay focused on one thing and repel the thoughts that try and hijack you. And so that's kind of a quick overview of it. But meditation is definitely one of those things that the more you dedicate to it, the more you get out of it, and it's so supportive in so many ways. The meditation is. What's up, Letty? Letty says, I'm still very new to this, but aren't we trying to use willpower to change mindset? No, we're not. We're using reinforcement to change our mindset. We're using better questions to change our mindset. We're using a more helpful, encouraging, supportive internal dialogue to change our mindset. But we're really not using willpower to change our mindset. We're using willpower to remember to listen to the hypnosis sessions in the morning. We're using willpower to listen to the trainings and go through them, but we're really looking to make the new behaviors and eating patterns automatic and habitual so that we do them on kind of autopilot. So we're not relying on willpower. And the example I like to use again is if you're a non-smoker, it's not because you're using willpower to fight against cravings. It's because your mindset around cigarettes doesn't create cravings. The way you think about the cigarettes, no cravings are being created. And so no willpower is needed, you see? So it's a preventative approach. Now, again, when you're first looking to change your mindset into a thin and healthy mindset, you're definitely using willpower sometimes. I'm not saying you're never using it, but with diets, you're exclusively just relying on willpower, right? Your mindset's constantly generating cravings and then unhelpful thoughts and desires for unhelpful behaviors and foods, and you're trying to fight against them. And with Program Yourself, then we're looking to go a level deeper and create the mindset that avoids those and doesn't generate them. And so, again, we're using the willpower to install listen to the hypnosis sessions in the morning, go through the trainings, and install the mindset that way. So I hope that makes sense. Tom says, can you lose weight with a completely sedentary lifestyle? Yes, you absolutely can. You do not need to move any more. You don't need to move any more than you currently do to lose weight, folks. Okay. And I would suggest to you that you're going to get more bang for your weight loss buck when you focus on the foods going into your mouth than your movement and exercising. That's proven. That study after study has shown that. I'm not saying don't exercise. I'm not saying that exercise and movement and activity don't have their own benefits to them. What I'm saying is when it comes to weight loss, you're going to get a lot more benefit when you control what you're putting in your mouth. Because mathematically, you could eat 500 calories in 2 minutes, and that would take you an hour to burn off. So again, you're way better off focusing on the foods going in your mouth and optimizing that. And that comes from someone. I'm not a sedentary person. I'm very active. Like I do a lot of stuff, but I have not worked out in any consistent form in 30 years. And I've mastered my weight. What's up, Kelly? Kelly says, I watched the self-hypnotic writing training and think I will use it to debate some of those troublesome voices I got going on. Yeah, Kelly, that would be perfect for you. Agreed. That's kind of a bonus. In Program Yourself, then we use a lot of, I don't want to say it's visualization, but it's meditation, visualization, certainly self-hypnosis to program ourselves. But another way to go at that is to absolutely use the hypnotic writing, the self-hypnotic writing technique that I came up with. And especially for the people that love journaling, it's really powerful. And it's good because, the powerful thing about writing is that you output information in a different way. A lot of times you're spending all your time thinking in your head, but you're circling through well-worn neural pathways. And as soon as you start to output that same stuff out through your hand, it changes. It's different. And you don't have to believe me, but it's different. And so journaling on especially challenging things that you're struggling with, it can be really, really helpful, especially when doing kind of the self-hypnotic writing version of it. But yeah, really, it'll illuminate a lot of stuff, Kelly, I bet you'll become aware of a lot of things that you were otherwise unawares of. So, yeah. But Kelly, it was great. I got to work with Kelly a couple times. You were great to work with. And always remember, if you want to join the coaching thing, that's available to you if you're interested in that. Son just says every day is a pleasure day. I mean, if every day is a pleasure day eating wise, you're probably gonna have a hard time controlling your weight. But every day is a pleasure day in terms of every day is a great day for sure. Mert says rice cakes topped with chocolate are my deadly pleasure. All right, well, that's not the worst deadly pleasure, I suppose. But again, it's not the rice cakes with chocolate that's the problem. It's how often we're doing it, And so I like to say that, the goal is to have your cake in your body too. In Program Yourself Thin, I'm gonna sound crazy, but Program Yourself Thin, whatever food gives you the most pleasure, the food you love the most is really the central core of the whole eating blueprint. We build around that. Imagine if you started your weight loss plan around your favorite, most enjoyable food that you can eat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jim, if I ate that, I'd eat it all the time. I'd never lose weight. That's because you never entertained the idea that you can eat that food and get more pleasure out of it than you have been. Because you get the most pleasure out of your favorite food is to eat it at your goal weight in a controlled way. That's the height of pleasure that you can get out of food. I challenge you. I don't think any of you enjoy food more than I do, because I eat food with absolutely zero guilt, blame, shame, any of that. So I'm just purely enjoying it. And that's what I want for you. And that's one of the first things we start in the program is that you take the food you love the most and you can eat it forever. Now you're going to eat it differently. Okay. But you're always going to have that. And what that does is it goes right to work on the deprivation that you associate with weight loss. Because as long as you associate deprivation with weight loss, you're going to struggle. It's going to be hard for you. And once you realize that you can weigh what you want and eat what you want forever, you start to feel a lot more motivated, right? Because now it's not, you're not missing anything. So very important. KT, what's up? KT says, do you believe food addiction or sugar addiction is legit real? I absolutely do. Because but it depends, right? Because I'm fascinated by the term addiction. I think I spend a lot of my time thinking about addiction. And what I will say is that if we go by the definition that addiction is when you can't stop yourself from doing something that you know is harmful to you, we'll just stick with that, right? Then obviously food and sugar addiction are real, right? Because you find yourself wanting to lose weight more than anything, and yet you keep eating the food. So in that sense, it's an addiction, okay? Now, if we zoom out a little bit and talk about addiction as a concept, this is where some people don't like what I'm about to say, but this is what I think, that what's an addiction? What is an addiction? Now, people will say, well, it's a disease. Right? These people are born with a brain that's an addicted brain. It's the genetics they were born with, the brain they were born with, the environment they grew up in, the experiences they had. This is a disease that they have, that they're addicted. And to that, I say, well, what about the people that stop being functioning or stop being active addicts, right? What do we say to the people that were injecting powders or snorting powders or, the alcohol, addicted to it, but then they stop? Because millions of people every year stop those things for good. Same brain, same genetics, same environmental experiences and histories, but now they don't do it anymore. Now, I don't want to argue addiction here, but I bring this point up because I think the disease model, and again, I'm not qualified to argue that real or not, but what I am saying is that I see how it could be a limiting belief if you believe it's a disease. And at the very least, I know people get mad at this, at the very least, if it is a disease, it's the only disease that you can decide not to have. And I know people that are actively struggling with addiction in it, that sounds very offensive. And I don't mean it that way. I say it through the context of how do we explain all the people that have stopped actively being addicts? And they can still define themselves as addicts, okay? But they stop doing the addictive behavior. So I bring that to the process too, because I think there's a lot to learn from that, because I think once you define yourself as an addict, I think it's a very limiting concept. And again, we have to look at people that have successfully stopped being food addicts, being sugar addicts, being drug or alcohol addicts, because there's a lot of them. And I think we want to learn from them. Now, again, this is what neurolinguistic programming, I'm an NLP trainer, and NLP is all about the science of role modeling. People that have gotten the results you want, what have they done? And this is literally what Program Yourself Then is. It's me sharing with you all the strategies that I've learned from speaking with people that have successfully lost weight and kept it off. And I share those strategies with you, the same strategies I use to succeed. And so I like to study success, what's worked. And I think a lot of times with addiction, we get caught up in the people that are not getting the results you want. And we start defining a lot of stuff through them. So I make a decision right from the beginning that I want to study the people that have been successful with it. And so, yeah, while I do believe that food addiction is real and sugar addiction is absolutely real, and I think viewing it that way sometimes can be helpful, I also think that at the end of the day, it pretty much comes down to motivation and your subconscious programming. Because how else would you all explain people that have been addicted to extremely addictive substances, whether it be food, sugar, you know, substances, that stop doing it? How do they do it? And I've studied the hell out of them. And I will tell you my theory. My theory is that their motivations change, right? Something changes and then they start getting motivated to not do that and to do something else. And their mindset and their programming changes. They think differently. They have to because they behave differently. So I think that that's how I view that. So I do believe food and sugar addictions are real, but I also think that you're not born that way, and you can't ever change it either. You absolutely can when you get the right lever and you're motivated enough. Letty says, this sounds silly, but when I'm listening to the hypnosis sessions, I get sensations that cause me to have to move, like an itch on my leg, or suddenly I need to shift positions, or my thought wanders. How do you stop that, or do I need to? Is it okay to move around or scratch an itch? Yeah, absolutely, Letty. That's so important. I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, sometimes, whether it's the hypnosis and meditation are the same brain state, by the way, everyone, just so we know. But a lot of times when people start meditating or doing the hypnosis, for a lot of people, it's the first time ever that they have, while they're awake, closed their eyes and brought their attention inwards. And some people, it's overwhelming, because you have all these thoughts, you have these sensations, and there's all this stuff going on in there. And you realize, holy shit, I spent a lot of my time running away from this, to food, substances, to TV, to whatever. Okay. And so we turn our attention inwards, it can seem a little overwhelming at first. And we have sensation, we have itches, my mind might play tricks on us, completely normal. And so my suggestion to you is that, yeah, if you get an itch or you get uncomfortable, you can absolutely shift. That was so profound for me with meditation, because at one point I remember, again, of course I read in like Zen monks, but it's like, a fly will land on their head and they won't scratch, or they get an itch and they just ignore it. And I've done that. Okay. But I'm at the point now where it's like, I have an itch, I just scratch it and I move on. And I find that works better for me. So I think, again, there's always options and choices. And for you, Letty, the first thing I want to do is I want to make the hypnosis process as comfortable as possible. And for me, that first phase would be, if I go into hypnosis and I get an itch, I'll scratch it. If I get my body's uncomfortable, I get this way, I'll move. Nothing wrong with that. And I think that the point is to just keep yourself in the best state possible. If that means you need to itch or move or do a different thing. Because I did that. Again, even sitting in meditation, all of a sudden my leg goes numb. You got to fight through the pain. If that's what you believe, fine, knock yourselves out. But I stopped doing that. And if there's an itch, I scratch it, then I concentrate again. If my leg goes numb, I switch it, I move it, and then I get back to the work at hand. So again, I understand the value of dealing with the itches and all the rest, because it is all thoughts and all the rest of it. But that's a much deeper level. You know what I mean? And so what we're looking for here really is just to turn our attention inwards, become aware what's going on, and to feel better. And so if scratching an itch makes you feel better, if moving your body feels better, do it. Because we really just I want you to feel as calm and relaxed as possible. So whatever kind of gets you there, do it, especially in the initial phases of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lady says, I always think, damn, I'm out of the immersion. You're not out of the immersion. I think what you'll find, because I used to think the same thing, but then I realized, holy shit, I've been thinking about this itch for the last 20 minutes obsessively. That's taking me out of it, right? And so now it's like, I'll scratch this, I'll move my leg, and now my mind frees up and I can get back to the work. So yeah, do the thing and then go back into it. And I think you'll be surprised at, once you kind of deal with the issue at hand, you're able to go deeper. But experiment with it. Let me know how that goes. As a few, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I will tell you, like so much of my work as a coach with people is giving people permission. Because people are so ridiculous for themselves. I have a client who is in the boot camp, and we just started a couple weeks ago. But I love my boot camp people too. It's really been fun. But one of the things is we talked. She's a high achiever. She's a perfectionist. A lot of you are, and for her, one example of what she wanted to do, she's thought about walking for a long time. And I mean, really big fantasies about walking, like going like to another country, and they have things where they like walk across the country, like big ass, like, wow, that'd be cool. That's how she's thinking about it. Meanwhile, she almost never walks. Okay. And she's in her head all the time, simultaneously imagining walking across countries, walking 6 miles a day to get ourselves ready to do that, and not walking at all, though. And a lot of you, I think, will realize if you reflect on this, that this is what you're doing to yourselves. That when you think about weight loss, you think about doing everything perfectly, right? The master plan you're going to do perfectly, but you ain't doing any of it. Very common with perfectionists. And you think about this master plan, you don't do any of it, and then you beat yourself up the entire time for not doing it. And you're just stuck in the cycle over and over and over again. And I know a lot of you can relate to that. And so for her, one of the big secrets was, I said, listen, you don't got to walk 6 miles. Let's just walk every day. Even if it's just a walk around your block, at least you did it that day. And we're going to build up consistency. One of the core mantras of Program Yourself Thin is consistency over intensity. And this is the reason, because a lot of you are constantly thinking about the most intense solution and then not doing it. And so the solution to that is to come up with a plan A, B, and C. Yeah, 6 miles, if you're feeling great that day and motivated, knock yourself out and do it. But if you're not, let's have a real minimum one that you can at least do it and feel good that you did something that day. And so I got to talk to her this week. She's walked every day. Some days just around the block, some days way more than around the block. And she's feeling amazing. Excited. What are the words she said she felt? Excited, powerful, proud, believed in herself, optimistic. A couple other things. She changed a couple other things too. But again, it's very easy to feel really good. You don't believe this because you think you need to do big, crazy shit to feel good, but you do not. And once you realize that and internalize that, it changes everything because it's so easy to feel good. But you all aren't letting yourself feel good because you're in your head trying to think of the perfect plan, and only the perfect plan will do. The perfectionists, right? Yeah. What's up, Julie? Julie says food tastes so much better in moderation. Agreed. Because again, you've been conditioned to think about food in the anticipation and consumption phase exclusively. Millions and millions and millions and millions of food ads you've seen in your life. And everything is focusing you on getting the food and the first couple bites of the food. You never think about the consequence phase. That's the biggest phase. And so when you start taking that into account, it's again, in business school, we used to call it full cost accounting. When we take account of all the pieces of it, and you're all not doing that. You're not taking into account the consequences of your eating decisions. You think you are because you think, oh, I know I'm overweight, Jim. Oh, believe me, I know the consequences. I'm overweight. I know No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the consequences that start 6 seconds after you take the last bite. The mental and emotional consequences specifically. How you start thinking about yourself, what you say to yourself after you eat that way. That's what I'm talking about. And once you start to focus on that, you start to make different decisions. Kelly says the free meditation app Medito is really great. Highly recommend. Good for beginners and experienced meditators as well. There you go. I never heard of that one. Medito. So if you're all interested in meditation, go check that out. What's up, Heather? Heather loves food. Hi, gosh, this calorie counting has been so stressful. I find myself eating even more. Yeah, of course. All your diets are stressful, folks. Your diets suck. I don't know. I'm going to sugarcoat it. Dieting is not a good way to lose weight. I can't believe people don't recognize this, but again, Heather, great job realizing that counting calories is stressful. It's overwhelming. And when you're stressed and overwhelmed, you tend to make unhealthier food choices. Oh, okay. Heather says, yeah, but you said if I could for a week, then you'd help me. I usually don't do that. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So what did you learn? Right. Cause enlighten me a little bit. I talked to a lot of people. You were saying that you eat, what were you saying? You were saying you eat normal meals and you've been doing that are you the 1 meal a day person? give me a little bit of background real quick. If you give me a little bit, I have a pretty good memory for people. But I can't forget where we left it off last time. Let me know with that and I'll get back to it because I will absolutely help you. Letty said, I just rode my bike across Iowa in an organized ride and only made it 68%. And I'm dealing with major disappointment in myself. Yeah, I get it, Letty. But this is an example of what I'm talking about is that, you know, how much do you usually ride your bike? You know, this is just the classic. When you compare yourself against perfection is the best way to feel like shit about yourself, no matter what. Comparing yourself against perfection always works to make you feel bad about yourself. You know, so I don't know how many miles that is. Let's look it up. This is a funny thing. And again, I'm joking because it's not funny, but it is. Where was it? Iowa. How wide is Iowa? Okay, Iowa is 310 miles wide. Okay. And so 68% of that is approximately 200 miles, right? So you rode your bike 200 miles and you feel bad. You know why? Because you're measuring yourself against the 100% perfection goal, you know? So I don't know how long you rode across Iowa for. Let's just say, I'll just give you a week. Say it was a week and you rode across Iowa, 68%. So in a week, you rode 200 miles. How many miles a week are you typically riding your bike? You know, again, framing is the game. Everything's around framing. We can do anything and feel like shit about ourselves. We could ride our bike 200 miles in a week and feel like shit if we should have ridden 300 miles, you know? So you got to watch out. That's why the mindset piece and how we run our minds is really the whole game. What's up, Mario? Yeah, trying to reframe it. KT says perfectionism has paralyzed inaction for me. Yeah, it's equal to paralyzed inaction. Yeah, it's paralysis by analysis, right? Because perfectionists are really good at thinking about the perfect plan. That's what you're great at. And the perfect plan is really hard to do. Again, my client who wants to walk 6 miles a day. Well, she ain't walking any miles a day. To go from 0 to 6 miles a day is very daunting, very difficult. And so you just avoid it. But then you perfectionists won't allow yourself to do a little thing. She got on today. She goes, I can't believe, she goes, I'm gonna be honest. I did not believe when you said walk around the block that would make me feel any better. And I did it and I felt a lot better. And I know you perfectionists don't believe me with this, but reduce to the ridiculous and do. I always say that the difference between 0 and 1 is this. The difference between 1 and 2 is this. Does that make sense? It's like the hardest thing to do is to start. And just doing even a little bit, that's where most of the enjoyment and most of the satisfaction comes from just starting it, doing it. And then there's incremental improvements after that. But yeah, perfectionism is a real issue, a real issue. It's a very negative mindset for most people because they use it wrong. And it's one of the core reasons why you're struggling, And I see a lot of perfectionists and they're very smug about it. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. And it's like, well, who gives a shit? Just because you can imagine the perfect scenario, who gives a fuck? Who cares? It comes down to what you're doing. And the fact that you take solace in the fact that when I do things right. When I do things, I do them 100%. Yeah, you do them 100% of the time, 5% of the time. I am impressed by that. Now I'm a perfectionist too. So I'm giving some tough love that I've given myself because I would do the same thing. I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to work out. But what's working out? Working out means I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week. I'm going to go over there and work out for an hour every day. And I don't do it. And I said, why don't I just start with doing some push-ups? Push-ups aren't going to do anything. And that's when I pop and say, listen, you dumb fucker, you've done nothing. You've done no working out at all. So doing some push-ups is 100% better than what you're doing. Stop with the fantasy land stuff, And I think it's very helpful to do that because you're just bullshitting yourself into oblivion, And so again, doing anything little, it's surprising. It's counterintuitive. You don't think it's going to feel that big of a deal. And it is. Doing little things consistently, it feels better than you think it's going to. Let me just put it that way. But so Heather says, yeah, you said you ate me for a week. I usually don't do that. I eat 3 times a day, healthy meals and 1 snack. I'm the BMI 30 short woman. Yes. Okay. Yes. In normal portions. Okay. So Heather, you typically eat 3 times a day, healthy meals and 1 snack, and you calorie counted them for a week. Which meal? Well, let me start with this. Which meal were you consuming the most calories with? I'm going to assume it was dinner. And after dinner, what's the next meal where you would typically consume the most calories? Let me know the answer to that. This is how I'd be able to help you. Oh, that's a good one. Tammy says better version 1 than version none. I like that. It's always better to do something than nothing. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I program yourself. Then the core philosophy is the all or something philosophy. You perfectionists love the all or nothing philosophy. You feel so high and mighty. And I know you do, because I did. You feel so high and mighty because when I do something, I do it all the way. I'm just that way. Yeah, but you haven't done anything in 3 years. So no one is impressed by that. Again, I'm saying what I say to myself in my head. Because that perfectionist voice is so smug and such an asshole. And it's that voice that is sabotaging us so much, because the only thing we're going to do, if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, well, you're not going to do anything perfect right off the bat. So it's a real trap, isn't it? So watch out for that perfectionist voice. I don't accept that. I don't suffer that perfectionist voice anymore without dealing with it. Heather says, actually, the most calories were breakfast and then dinner and then lunch. Okay. My average weekly was about, 2.7. Okay. So wait, your average daily calories were 2,700, right? You didn't have 2,700 calories for the week, right? You had 2,007 calories each day on average. Is that accurate? What's up, Jim? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll stick with Heather for a second. So Heather says, yeah, daily. Okay. Yeah. So 2,700 calories daily. Yeah. And you're 5'4" and you want to drop your weight. Well, yeah, you would want to cut the calories down. What's a typical breakfast for you? That's very interesting that the most calories are breakfast. That's a little bit unusual typically, but give me an average breakfast that you eat. What's the breakfast you ate the most during the week? Let me know what it is. And I see Jim. Jim says, hi, bro. Listen, I fucked up yesterday at night. Couldn't fall asleep. So I got up and binged on two Milkas. They were like 200 grams each. I still feel ill today. What the hell's a Milka? I don't know what a Milka is, but yeah, it's no big deal, Jim. I mean, so what? You've been doing great. Okay. So let's not lose sight of what's going on. Right. You notice this pattern, right? People do this all the time. This is what I do coaching wise. It's literally talking people off a cliff because of the way their brains work. And so Jim's over here and he's been making healthier decisions. I mean, you're going on a month now or a couple months. He's losing weight. Things are going great. And so when we fuck up, please put it in perspective. Of course, you're going to fuck up sometimes. You're not perfect. And as a matter of fact, you're just starting out. So it's not a big deal. And so, I messed up. I got up and I ate 2. I don't know what was going on there. Now, again, in Program Yourself, then you would redo that. We would learn from it and we would program ourselves to do something different. I don't know what a Milka is. Maybe it's milk. You drank 2 milks? You binged on 2 milks? Is that what you're saying? There were 200 grams each. I don't know what 200 grams means. Denise says, you can't hear me. Can the rest of you hear me? Yeah, there, and Jim follows it up. But most importantly, I feel ashamed and just mad. Well, I feel ashamed and mad, folks. I just see, this is that diet culture. The diet is such bullshit. They've just put such shitty things into you, because when you're looking to get better at something and you make a mistake, why feel ashamed? Why feel ashamed and mad? I mean, you screwed up. So what? It's really not a big deal as long as you learn and grow from it. It's not a big deal. And Letty comes in 100 miles a week. I trained hard. Oh, it was 425. Okay. So you rode 300 miles and you trained hard. Letty, don't let go of everything you did do because of what you didn't do. And Jim, don't let go of what you've done because of one little thing you did. This is real wisdom, folks, when it comes to the weight, because this is what causes people to quit. Their brain magnifies every mistake and makes it overwhelming. It's catastrophic thinking. You make one, Jim over here, I forget how much weight Jim's lost, but he's lost, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds. I forget where you're at. but he's doing it in a smart, sustainable way. He's made all sorts of positive changes, deep positive changes, because they're not just changing behavior. He understands the mindset behind it, done a lot of good work. And so he's got all that. And then he gets up one night and drinks, I don't know what the hell Milka is, but does something with 200 grams. I don't know what that means, but does something that upset him. But now all of a sudden that becomes the whole story. You know, if you look back over the last month, Jim, and look at what you've done right, and then you look at that, you know, let it be in perspective, because your brain's not putting in perspective. It's got negativity bias and it's blowing it up. All right. And it's just, it's a bad way to go about it, because it sets you up for failure. Daphne says, show that again. The difference between 0 and 1 is the difference between 1 and 2 is, yeah, the difference between 0 and 1 is like this. And the difference between 1 and 2 is like this. That when you go from doing nothing to doing something, it's worth way more than doing twice as much of that. Do you understand? Because psychologically, it's a game changer. You know, like for that person I'm talking about, even if she's not walking 6 miles a day, and again, perfectionists always think they need to walk 6 miles a day to feel good about themselves. It's bullshit. But what happens is she's walked every day. And she's walked a lot some days and a little some other days, but she's walked every single day. And so now her self-image, her mindset is, I've walked every day. That's evidence that you can't, it balances that out. It balances out that negativity a little bit. Okay? What's up, Dylan? Dylan says, man, I didn't eat meat for a whole day and I got 0 energy. I don't even know what that means. You just laid in bed and slept all day? Dylan, you just come here and say crazy shit. Is that what happened, though? Did you just lay in bed all day? You had 0 in all caps? Man, I didn't eat meat for a whole day and I got 0 in all caps, absolutely 0 energy. So you just had to lay in bed like you had like the worst case of the flu ever. You couldn't even move. Could hardly even open your eyes. Is that what happened, Dylan? Hey. I can't tell if Dylan's a troll or if he's sincere. I'm still figuring that out. All right. Back to Heather. Heather says, so I take berry yogurt, mix it with some honey and granola, and a little bit of cereal. Milka is a chocolate brand. Okay, got you. Gotcha. Okay, Milka. Let's see what Milka is anyways. I'm just curious now. Milka chocolate. Oh, I see. All right. Swiss brand of chocolate. Okay, it's just regular chocolate. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. So Heather, I do not even believe this is possible. Now I got real hard for him to imagine you're eating a berry yogurt mix with a little bit of honey, or with some honey and then some granola and a bit of cereal on top of it. And that's your biggest meal of the day. So what's a typical, because then you said what, lunch is the next biggest? Okay. Dinner and then lunch. Lunch is the smallest. So what are you eating for dinner typically? Now give me a typical dinner you might eat. Give me 1 or 2 dinners you might eat. Because if breakfast is the most calories and you're consuming 2,700 calories, we're talking about breakfast being somewhere around 1,000 calories perhaps. And I don't know how, unless you're eating like a bowl of berry yogurt and like 3 cups of granola and like a box of cereal on top. Like, I don't know how that's getting to 1,000 calories. So let me know what a typical dinner might be. And let me know the portion sizes of your yogurt. I'm confused. Heather says, well, yeah, it's a cup of granola because it's pretty healthy. Okay, a cup of granola, but still, I mean, how much yogurt are you eating? Because how is that like 1,000 calories? And what's a typical dinner? That sounds to me like a ballpark. When I hear like a yogurt, granola, honey, cereal, I'm thinking 400 calories, 500 calories. So I don't know how we're getting up to 1,000, unless it's just a cup of granola. It's kind of a lot of granola, by the way. But how much yogurt is it? Okay, Heather. Oh shit! Oh shit! I forgot. I also have French toast as a side. Okay, fair enough. Again, and there's no judgment here. I just want you all to know this. I'm pointing out our brain constantly deletes the worst stuff we tend to do, and so it gets real confusing in our heads. I don't understand. I'm eating everything right. All I do is have a granola and yogurt in the morning. I can't lose weight, but and then we forget those French toast side, right? And now that's where the calories are coming from, right? That's the other 500, 600 calories we were missing. All right. Okay. So now it makes sense. But give me as well, though. I do want to know, give me a typical dinner as well. Let me just know a typical dinner. All right. Don, hey, what's up, Don? Don set him up a few for my birthday celebration. It's his call. Just get back to your system routine. Yeah, exactly. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Jim said, no, not milk. It's a chocolate brand. I basically ate almost a pound of chocolate. Okay, so Jim, yeah, what I want to know about that, and again, the brain gives a pain for learning. So you can't just do something like that and be like, who cares? Doesn't matter. I'm fine with it. Your brain, that's not acceptable. So you have to look at it and say, well, what happened? You had a bad night of sleep and then I got up and ate that. What was going on there? Right? That's unusual. You've had bad nights of sleep before, I imagine. What happened? What was your mood? What were you saying to yourself? What was going on when you walked over the fridge and ate a pound of chocolate? I want to know what's going on there. I know you woke up and you were tired, but there was more going on there. And I want to know what that is. Okay. And if you learn something from that, it's going to make it easier to kind of move forward. All right. Dylan's. Oh, I was wondering what that was, Dylan. I through Paul. Yeah. I just want to be a healthy man. But Dylan, is that what you're saying, that that day when you didn't eat meat, you had zero energy. And so you literally just laid in bed all day? Oh, okay. Yeah. KT. Yeah. It's probably a troll. I love the trolls because they help me prove points anyways. I love trolls. Anyways. What are you saying, Dylan? Did you just lay in bed all day long? Oh, zero energy. I hate to be nitpicky, but I ate veggies and oatmeal, just no meat. And so there was no energy though. What's zero energy mean to you though? I want to know. Oh, so tired. All right. Well, I was tired, but one day, you can never tell. I mean, one day it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? You can't just eat one way one day and then that's like completely a good example or how it feels. You know what I mean? You have to do things a little bit longer. Heather says, dinner is chicken Alfredo, pasta with broccoli, and 2 garlic breadsticks. Well, I mean, Heather, from what I'm hearing, first of all, 2,700 calories is a high level of calories, especially if you're 5'4". So I don't know. I mean, the point of tracking calories, right? So for me, what you're already mentioning, I absolutely see rooms for improvement and optimization. And the first one I'd start with is a French toast in the morning. I wouldn't want to eat French toast on my clean eating days, the days where I'm looking to eat better. I'd eat French toast on maybe a couple days a week, but I wouldn't want to eat French toast all the time. So that's one of the first things I would focus on. And I always focus on breakfast first because breakfast is, I always say, like, every day you're building a house with your nutrition, and breakfast is the foundation of that house. And so I always look to optimize breakfast first. And so I think you're probably doing pretty good with the yogurt and the granola. Although I would double check with the granola. I bet that granola has a lot of sugar in it. I bet your yogurt has a lot of sugar in it because I heard there was fruit in it. And so if it's a fruit cup blend yogurt, it's got tons of sugar in it. It's really a parfait more than it is some healthy yogurt thing. So I would optimize the yogurt by getting Greek yogurt with no added sugar to it. I would get fruit and I would cut it up and put that in the yogurt. I would cut the granola down probably by half and find a healthier version of the granola. I'd continue to use the honey. You can still use some honey. I don't think I put cereal on. I'd work to get rid of the cereal, cut that out. So those would be how I would start to optimize breakfast, just with what you're doing. And then I'd look to have healthier options as well. And then for dinner, Alfredo pasta absolutely is something I would eat way more sparingly. Right. 2 garlic bread sticks. Again, that special occasion stuff, that's fine. I wouldn't want to eat that regularly. Lunch was a veggie sandwich with vegan mayo and sweet potato fries. That's better. It's better. Right. Don't get caught up Yeah, I don't know if you're making that, because when you say sweet potato fries, it makes me think you're going out. Again, sweet potato fries are fried, so again, I would switch a sweet potato fry out for a sweet potato that I baked, would be a switch I'd look to make. So the point I'm trying to make is that what I want you to understand is not even the specifics of what I'm saying, but the process I'm using to approach it. I'm not looking to change everything you're doing. I'm not looking to change the diet completely. I'm looking to do what you already do and work to improve it and optimize it. That's a strategy. Oh, okay. Yeah, I fry them on my own. I thought they're still healthy though. No, they're not healthy. Because when you fry something, what you're doing is you're displacing the water that's in it with oil. And water has 0 calories and oil has a ton of calories. Oil is pretty much the most calorie dense food on the planet. So when anytime you embed oil into food, you're making it a lot less healthy and a lot higher calorie. So, um, yeah, the veggie mayo is healthy kind of, but I do add some bacon and avocado there. Yeah, I mean, Heather, you got lots of room for improvement, so that's the good news. But it's the way I'm talking about the improvement that I hope you all get, is that it's not changing everything all at once. That's too overwhelming. You only have so much energy and attention. And if you focus it strategically on breakfast first and get that locked down, then you go to lunch, then you go to dinner. And so, Heather, yeah, I mean, you've got, that's a diet that really is extremely high calorie. That's a very high calorie. Those are everything you've mentioned is a pretty high calorie meal and nothing I would consider to be that healthy. The yogurt's kind of got a starting point to some degree. Heather says, I wish I was like 5'11. I'm 5'11. And if I ate like that every day, I would be 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier. So enough with that shit. You're always doing that, Heather. You're always blaming your height. And after hearing what you're reading, I would stop doing that. And I would definitely, it's the food you're eating. And if I ate what you ate regularly, I would at 5'11 be 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier than I am. So it's not the height, it's the food. Dylan said I was going to take my dog for a walk, but I took a nap. I was vegetarian for KT says I was vegetarian for 9 years, plenty of energy, but I was still chubby. Yeah, again, Heather says, I want to know your BMI. Nah, who cares what my BMI is? Yeah, Don says 5'4" here, 1800 at best to lose any weight. Yeah. Heather says, you're very helpful. Yeah, you're welcome. That's what I'm here to do, What's up, Paula? Can I reset you, please? Yeah. Myself a little notey note. Read myself different notes in different places. Yeah, I will do that though. A little notepad. KT says, I'm also 5'4". I usually have to go as low as 1,600 to see pound loss, and I'm starving. Yeah, but I don't know. Was that your issue, KT? Yeah, I was vegetarian for 9 years. Plenty of energy, but still chubby. Again, yeah, you can absolutely overeat on a vegetarian diet, no doubt. Okay. But I was a vegetarian. I really consider myself being two types of vegetarian. I think of myself, um, the first 15 years of being a vegetarian, 20 years of being a vegetarian, I wasn't a junk food vegetarian in any way, but I was not nearly as healthy as I was the second phase of being a vegetarian. And so being a vegetarian in of itself is not really the secret. It's really being a vegetarian who has a very high nutrient, that eats foods that have a very high nutrient density level and a variety of nutrients is really the secret. And I think that's how you get to a place where you're consuming calories and losing weight comfortably. So I think for KT, I think it's about optimizing your food so that your calories are lower, but your satiety is higher. And I think that is the vegetarian path I like. And I'm not a vegetarian advocate. Well, I am an advocate. I'm not an activist. I'm not going to convince you to be a vegetarian, but regardless of vegetarian or meat eater, it doesn't matter. But the point is to find foods that are really nutrient dense and get a wide variety of those foods. And so I don't know if you were doing that as vegetarian. Probably not. I'm just assuming. I wasn't. So Heather says, "Oh, why is that a secret? Does it start with 1 or 2 at least?" Does it start with 1 or 2? It's not that it's a secret. It's just like, I don't know, like, because the thing with weight, everyone's just like, everyone wants to know like what my weight is. Like, who gives a shit? Like, you just be worried about your weight. Like, who gives a shit what my weight is? Why would you ever care what some weirdo on the internet's weight is? Right? Like, who gives a shit? You just concentrate on yourself, because my weight, like, I'm a certain size, I'm a height, I carry it different. You know what I mean? Like, it just means nothing, really. People are so obsessed with all that. I guess I could see, like, if you find someone who, like, I don't know, weighs the same as you and you want to see how they carry the weight, I guess. But I just find like that conversation doesn't lead to any place valuable for you. Who, like, how would knowing my BMI in any way support and help you? Like, how? You know? Don says, I make 1,500 go a long way. I do volume eating, lots of whole foods. Potatoes are a good one. Yeah, potatoes are definitely a good one. Here's the main one I'll tell you. The main nutrient you're looking for is fiber. Fiber is the secret weapon. Fiber is nature's Ozempic, you know? So it's really, 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 really important. Fiber has been the number one thing stripped from our diet as Americans. And as you start to put more fiber, and I mean fiber from natural sources, because it's not just the fiber. So it's not starting to pound Metamucil. It's eating fiber in its whole natural forms, because then you're getting the fiber and you're also getting all the micronutrients that go along with it. And you're consuming them in their natural food matrix. You know, so again, we can't just, science loves to like separate everything and specialize everything and prove how it's all the same. But the reality is that the food matrix that you consume has a huge impact on how you digest that food and the satiety it offers. You know, you can take the same amount of sugar that's in an apple and put it in a candy bar, but those sugars interact completely different in your body. One spikes your blood sugar and one is a slow absorption. And that is a huge part of the story. So again, we need a more holistic understanding of the food, right? Don't just dial it down to calories. I think you're going to struggle if you just dial it down to, and I think calories matter. I think there's a place for obviously tracking and understanding the calorie piece of weight loss, obviously. But I think what's more important is really understanding the bigger picture of food. That's what I think. This is, I just can't wait to be a healthy weight, or at least under 30. I feel ashamed. Yeah, I get that. I mean, a lot of people feel shame because of their weight, you know? Yeah. Jennifer says, yeah, you shouldn't be starving at 600 calories if they're the right calories. Yeah. Not starving, but again, it may or may not be enough for you too. I mean, but it's really, it's about optimizing those calories. You know, all calories are not created equal. Big Mama Love says, so I struggle with stress eating. You suggest finding better ways to deal with stress. Is that right? Yes, absolutely. And I'm not saying that fixes it all completely, because stress eating is it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the stress. That's the big trigger. But a big first step to resolving stress eating is to have better ways to deal with when you're stressed. And ideally, again, a preventative approach is to start living a lifestyle that reduces your stress level to lower levels, you know? And so it's a more holistic approach, but I think it's one that serves you better long-term. But I know for a fact, I was one of them, and I've worked with everyone I've ever worked with. They are very bad at relaxing and calming themselves down. Most Americans are walking around in a chronic state of stress. And if you're a chronic state of stress, it's affecting you mentally, emotionally, physically, in ways that drive you to overeat typically. So again, program yourself. Then the very core foundational level is to become a more relaxed, calm version of you. And that's one of the most important pieces of the hypnosis session each day, is that you relax and calm down for 5 minutes. It's transformative. And don't tell me, you don't fucking know. You don't ever relax. So don't tell me that's not enough. That's not going to do anything. You have no clue. What do you think you need to do? Go on a week vacation to some retreat and relax that way? You know? So it's like relaxing every day a little bit is the secret. It's like brushing your teeth. You can't just brush the shit out of your teeth once a month. You got to brush them every day. And relaxation is the same thing. You know? So if you commit to little relaxations, it goes a far way. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Mario says, have you tried crumble cookies? They're literally 1,300 calories each on average. I have, and I thought they're disgusting. Like it's too much. Again, I eat I eat normal food. I eat natural, whole, normal food. And so when I eat something like crumble cookies are so over the top, I find them disgusting. I did not even enjoy them, to be honest. I thought they were just too much. But yeah, I could easily see the 1,300 calories each. Ridiculous. Lisa says lack of fiber increases risk for colon cancer. Yep. Yeah, there's all sorts of issues. Mario said I ate 3 before knowing. Yeah, that one hurts, Mario, right? I know. I ate some. My daughter had gotten some like a month or two ago. I ate a little bit of a couple different ones, but I just thought they were so heavy handed. I really didn't even enjoy it. But yeah, I could definitely see how they're that much. KT says, "You ever looked at the stats on keto bread? Super high fiber, not filling at all. Crazy." That's interesting. What is keto bread? Let's look at that for a second, though. What's a popular brand? Let's just look up keto bread. I don't know. Base culture, is that good? Or do we have like, let's go to Arnold's Superior because Arnold's is kind of like a big brand. Let's see. Ingredients: water, modified wheat starch, wheat protein isolate, sunflower vegetable oil. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Well, Jasmine says Wendy always talking about weight and Ozempic. Wendy? Who's Wendy? Wendy always talking about Went and Ozempic. Myra says it's sad 1 in 3 are obese and even children 1 in 4, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think those are the stats. Yeah. 72% of the population in America is overweight or obese right now. You know, we refer to it as an epidemic, but no one gives a shit. Feels like no one really internalizes the physical damage that being overweight and obese does to you. That's a core reason why you struggle. You know, you minimize the damage. It's like the cigarettes. I always refer back to the way you think about food is the way people thought about cigarettes in the 1950s. What's up, Jonathan? Thanks for the rose. How's it going over there? So, you know, again, cigarettes were just as unhealthy back then, but people just didn't think of them as that unhealthy. They knew they weren't good for them, but they didn't really think they were that bad. And I think the thing that's caused cigarette consumption to go down so much, at least in America, is the education of just how bad it is for you. But when it comes to food, it's the same thing. They're always minimizing what the damage. I mean, think about how you think about cigarettes versus how you think about processed food. You know, it's not good for you, but you don't really internalize just how bad it is. You know, so. Casey says, agreed. I love sugar and I also hate crumble cookies so much. So many better cookies out there. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I didn't really, and I love cookies, but I did not. They're just too much. To be honest, I like the cookies I make. There's a couple of people's cookies I like, but I will tell you something that's happened to me as I've cleaned up my diet, specifically reduced the sugar tremendously, is I'm much more sensitive to too much sugar now. And I don't find really sweet things enjoyable. And that obviously is really helpful when you want to control your weight. I don't enjoy eating really sweet things. I don't like it. So that's what I was trying to tell you. Program yourself thin. With dieting, you don't change any of your subconscious associations. So with dieting, you love ice cream, you love sweets, you love cookies, you love pizza, but then you try and fight against all that craving and love and desire for those foods with your willpower. And eventually you can't do it anymore and you go back to eating the way you always did. With Program Yourself Thin, we change your associations so that you don't enjoy sweet things as much. You don't love cookies. You dial that down. That shit's been dialed up, folks. It's not natural. You're seeing 10,000 food ads a day. Every time you drive by a fast food place, that's a food ad. Do you know what I mean? Like 10,000 ads a day, they estimate. And so you're constantly being conditioned to crank up your cravings for these foods. It's not natural. So you can change that. Jonathan says, dude, I've been eating a little more and still maintaining. Yay, feels like I can eat everything now. Good job. Did you see your goal weight, Jonathan? Yeah, Nature's Own. I'm curious to see what Nature's Own is. Nature's Own keto bread ingredients. Yeah, same shit. Water, modified wheat starch. See, here's the difference in a nutshell. And this is why, as just a general rule of thumb, I follow this and it's served me well for 30 years. And even if I don't understand the nutritional science behind it, this shit is always proven to be right for me. And it's that I always opt towards natural food. Okay. So when I look at nature's own keto bread, right, here's the ingredients. And we understand that the first ingredient's the most ingredient and then so on. So number one's water. Okay, that's good. Next is modified wheat starch. What is that? What's modified wheat starch? Wheat protein isolate, yeast, vinegar, soybean oil, cultured sugar, right? So now I'm going to compare that to Ezekiel bread, which is what I eat. Okay. And the ingredients there: sprouted wheat, sprouted barley, sprouted millet, sprouted lentils, sprouted soybeans, sprouted spelt, organic wheat gluten, yeast, sea salt. The difference is obvious, right? So when I eat that, I'm satisfied for 4 hours, 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours. I eat peanut butter with a tuna and an apple, right? But you see the difference? Modified wheat starch, wheat protein isolate. What the fuck is that? Versus sprouted wheat, sprouted barley, sprouted millet, sprouted lentils, sprouted soybeans, sprouted spelt, organic wheat gluten, yeast, sea salt. So again, you don't have to be a nutritionist to, I hope, appreciate that one's natural and probably going to act in your body in a natural way. And the other one is, I don't know, made in a lab. So that's up for you all to decide. But it's not that complicated. I will tell you that. I know people, I don't know what to eat. Oh, so I could eat this last week and now I can't eat this. Now I can eat. That's bullshit, because that's all exists within the processed food realm. Yeah, you don't know what to eat processed food wise. But when it comes to natural whole foods, eat what you want. Pretty much. What's up, Joy? Cindy said, I'm now immediately taking deep breaths as soon as I hear the AM and PM meditations now. Yeah, of course, Cindy, right? That's the purpose of that. As soon as you hear my voice, right, it probably relaxes you a bit. That's what happens. People in the program. Lisa says, I don't think people realize how bad they feel until they feel better. At least that was the case with me. Yeah, absolutely. My taste has changed drastically. Yeah, Lisa's speaking the truth. You don't realize how shitty you feel. Let's go there for a minute. I got to get out of here in a minute anyway. So let's top it off. Making you feel bad. But you don't realize how shitty you feel. You've built up a tolerance to it. You've eaten unhealthy food and been struggling away for so long, you just don't even realize how shitty you feel. You feel like shit. You're tired all the time. Right? You're kind of exhausted. Emotionally, you're just drained because you're constantly beating yourself up and feeling bad. Physically, you're constantly putting bullshit in your body. That's not what your body really wants. It struggles and inflames your body. You're not nourishing yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. And you feel like shit, but you don't realize it because everyone around you feels the same way. So again, I don't say this to be a jerk, but I say it that it's very intentional. They've put a web of, they put this fog of tolerance around you. You just don't realize how shitty you feel. And I know you want to look better. I want to look better. I want to bathe and suit to the beach. Yeah. Okay. Well, how about you feel like shit all the time? You telling me you don't? You tell them, how do you feel energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally? How do you feel day to day? Do you ever focus on that for your motivation to eat better and live healthier? No, I just want to look better. I don't give a shit about that. I just want to look better. No. There you go. No, Jonathan's even a little under his goal weight. Nice job, man. Mama said, but Ezekiel bread tastes so bad. Fair enough. I agree. I did not like Ezekiel when I first started eating it. And so I do agree that that's true. And I don't eat it. I toast it. I find toasting it and putting peanut butter on it. I love it now. That's the other piece, is you get used to whatever you expose yourself to and consistently eat. Now I love it. But yeah, I wouldn't disagree that at first it's a little shock to the system, because you're coming from, flour-based breads, with sugar in them and, all that, you get used to it. That's what you like. But again, as you expose yourself to it for bigger reasons, and the reasons are that I feel amazing, right? I eat this in the morning. And I can trust it that I feel satisfied. Now I like how it tastes too. I love it. I prefer it over. It's funny. The other day I ran out of it and I made some bread And it was high quality bread too that we get, just regular old bread. But I ate it, I was like, holy shit, it's so sweet. Why? They put sugar in it, So again, I will let you know that sometimes in life you can actually make food choices based on the health of it and what it's going to do for you health wise. And you don't have to make all your food decisions based around taste. That's why I say breakfast is the best meal to start with, because breakfast is typically the meal you give the shit about the least, flavor wise. Mama says, what do you think about Ezekiel cereals? I don't eat cereal, but I would imagine if I had to guess, my first instinct is to trust Ezekiel, right? That it's a company that seems to have best interests at heart. Now that could change in a moment, but I've been doing Ezekiel for a long time and I trust him, and I don't trust very many companies, to be honest. So I don't eat cereal, but if I did eat cereal, I'd probably eat Ezekiel cereal. So I'll leave it there. Yeah, Yuri says, yeah, you get used to it. Yes. Yeah, of course. You get used to whatever. It's like I tell my kid, I believe it too, because I've done it. I've changed so much of my eating. I went from, it used to be Wonder Bread with Jif peanut butter. And now I have Ezekiel with natural peanut butter. I didn't love any of those changes at first, right? The natural peanut butter is gross, whatever, but you get used to it. It only takes like a week too, by the way, and so I know that going into it, I have all the reasons why I want to do it. It happened and now I'm better off for it. And I don't give a shit. I promise you don't enjoy your toast any more than I enjoy mine. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, okay, John says, I actually kind of like Ezekiel with some fresh tomatoes and salt. That's great then. Yeah. I find that toasting the Ezekiel is the secret. You know what I mean? It's much more toast like that way. It's not that as different. Eating it plain is a little bit of a, I still don't enjoy that. However, if I was, I got to eat sandwiches, I would eat Ezekiel sandwich and I'll get used to it. And then I'd end up liking that. You like whatever you end up doing regularly. Y'all know that, right? I do adult babies, right? I have my kid won't believe me. It's like, oh, you keep trying this, you're going to like it. I don't believe you. You got to try it. Come on. Katie says cereal is one of my favorite binge foods. I just don't have it in the house anymore. Yeah, I get that. It's one of my favorite, on pleasure days. I kind of went through a phase of it where a lot of my pleasure days, I would get Cocoa Pebbles. I love Cocoa Pebbles. And so I kind of let myself eat those for a while. And then I kind of say, I don't really enjoy it as much anymore. I kind of passed. And so I haven't really eaten that in a while, but I'll eat it again at some point. But I get it. And of course, cereals are dessert. You know what I mean? Like they're meant to be binged. So be careful with them. Thoughts on Skinny Pop popcorn? Well, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but let's find out, and I'll give you a more Skinny Pop ingredients. Skinny Pop's ingredients depend on flavor, but typically include popcorn, sunflower oil, and salt. Well, that sounds good to me. No, that sounds good. Popcorn, sunflower oil, and salt. So I think that sounds pretty good. Hersheyland, so Hershey makes it? The hell's Hersheyland? That cannot be Hershey's. So I think, yeah, as things go, I think that at first glance, yeah, it sounds all right. Again, I mean, I think there's always relative, right? So there's always something better. And so Skinny Pop's better than like Smart Food, and Air Pop popcorn's better than Skinny Pop. So again, it's levels, and you got to make your decisions. You don't have to go to Air Pop, but again, it's all taking everything into account, which serves you best. Yuri says, none of my family want to change their diet. I gave up. I modified my meals. They don't know what's coming. Good for you, Yuri. Good for you. That's smart. That's a great strategy. Yeah. What's up, Sarah? Sarah says Ezekiel English muffins are really good, better than the bread, in my opinion. I've heard that a lot. I've heard a lot of people say that the English muffins, Ezekiel's English muffins, are really good and better than like the bread. It's more like English muffins are. So I've heard that from multiple people that I trust, and so I feel comfortable saying that's probably true. Thoughts on organic rolled oats? I like oats. Again, oats, it's the same thing. Everything is a spectrum, so there's usually places to make it healthier, and there's also usually worse options. So like instant oatmeal tends to not be the healthiest oatmeal typically. There's a big thing with like, and I don't know if it's just the brand of Quaker or not, but the rolled oats that I forget what's in it, some glutamate, or I forget what the word was that they said, be careful of that thing. But if I was going to eat oatmeal, and when I eat oatmeal, um, it kind of starts what I consider as rolled oats, right? Like not instant. Instant's less healthy than rolled oats, right? Because instant oats has less of the oat, so it can cook quicker. The rolled oats that are, take 10 minutes to do, that's healthier. And then there's steel cut oats. That's the healthiest oat. So again, it's all relative. And, if you like doing it, if you like eating it, again, eat it, just keep optimizing it. But that's a good place to start, I would say. KT says Skinny Pop is good, but lesser evil popcorn is so much better. Similar calories, better taste, in my opinion. Let's see what lesser evil is. I've never even heard of that one. Hersheyland. That's a new one to me, though. Is Hersheyland Hershey like chocolate? I got to see this real quick. Hold on one second. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it is. So Hersheyland makes Skinny Pop popcorn. I will tell you, my general rule is when I see some big bullshit company in charge of something, I definitely get more skeptical. And so I just looked at their ingredients quick, and the ingredients seem okay, but when I see a big corporation, I'm always skeptical. But that being said, lesser evil popcorn ingredients. Oh, the Himalayan pink salt organic popcorn. It sounds pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Non-GMO popcorn's a little better. Oh, organic extra virgin coconut oil. Okay, Himalayan salt. Yeah, sounds pretty good. But again, remember, and again, I'm sure they're selling this for it's low calorie. I'm sure that's part of it. Or is it not? Let's see. 120 calories and what? Come on, where you at? Okay. Okay, so 3 cups, 120 calories. That's not bad. So again, I'm okay with it. Again, it's fine. It's better than smart food. It's not as good as Air Popped that you make at home. And so fine. You know what I mean? We got choices. The more choices you kind of give yourself initially, it's not good to have too many choices that overwhelms you, but giving yourself as many choices as you need is the important thing. So as long as you feel like you're making a decision that you want to make, knock yourself out. I get the Kirkland popcorn made with olive oil. Yep, there's in that brand. Yep. Linda says, I don't need any gluten except for one piece of Ezekiel bread with peanut butter in the morning. Is Ezekiel better than all the other breads? Gluten makes me bloat, but Ezekiel doesn't. Yeah, Ezekiel is better than all the other breads because Ezekiel, to me, now Ezekiel's not gluten-free, but it's sprouted grains, right? So you're getting the whole grain as opposed to flour, which you're getting only a part of the grain and it's milled to be like a powder. And so watch out for flour, So a big part of my clean days, part of my philosophy of clean eating is I'm eating very little processed food, but then I'm also looking to remove as much flour and sugar as possible. And so that's where Ezekiel shines. Is it's not flour, it's a whole grain that they made bread out of. So, all right, got to get out of here. But thank you so much, guys. It was a great call as usual. And if you're not in my world, make sure you get in my world by clicking the link in my bio. Go get the hypnosis session I give you. It's free. Watch the video I made for you. It's free. Read the emails I send you. They're free. They're all going to help you, support you in thinking about your weight differently, and hopefully move you in the direction you want to go in a comfortable, enjoyable way. That's the goal. And I'm here to help you do that. And so go check that out. Follow me. If you don't follow me, if you just landed here magically and you want to hear more of this stuff, follow me. So you see my videos. I got a bunch of new videos coming out. The podcast is Program Yourself Then. You can listen to any podcast platform, and it's there for you to listen to whenever you want to. And then we do lives every day, Monday through Friday. I'm usually here at noon Eastern. I start, usually go an hour, 2 hours on average. So any questions you may have, pop on here and I'll do my best to answer them. So thanks so much. Have a super day and we'll talk soon. Bye.